The gospel lesson for this coming Sunday is Matthew 14:22 to 33. It's the one where Jesus walks on the water. You probably heard it. And it's one that if you read to my friend Monty, he has an absolute fit. Guaranteed. Sometimes we do it just to rile him up. What the heck was Peter thinking? He'll rant. Monty, you see, is an experienced sailor. He knows that you never jump out of the boat. The best way to survive is to stay in, hunker down, and hang on, even in the worst of storms. Peter's some kind of nut, he will undoubtedly conclude, and while our usual response has been to laugh at the vigor of his objection, well, I'm starting to think Monty may have the right idea. It's been popular among preachers and others to focus a lot of time and energy on Peter's exploits in this text. He apparently takes Jesus at his word, goes over the side, and actually gets a few steps in before he's distracted by the still raging storm and begins to sink. Jesus naturally saves his impetuous disciple, and they all live happily ever after. The conclusion normally drawn is that, Peter could have made it had he just not taken his eyes off of Jesus. His failure is one of resolve. He doesn't try hard enough. So, if you all try just a little harder, you get the idea. It's a great motivational speech, and it has a place in Christian tradition as an encouragement to stay focused on Christ. But it's really terrible as gospel, because it's all about Peter's effort and how we should emulate him. In fact, maybe be a little better than him, so Jesus doesn't call us names like ye of little faith. Well, since when is try a little harder and it'll be okay the same thing as good news? Another thing. As Jesus is walking toward the boat and its terrified occupants, he calls out to reassure them, "Take heart, I am. Don't be afraid." And Peter's response? "Lord, if it is you..." Peter. Really? The only other two occurrences of "if it's really you" language in Matthew's gospel come, well, first of all, from Satan as he tempts Jesus in the wilderness. And finally, it's how the crowd taunts Jesus as he's hanging on the cross. Peter. Nasty company. Maybe Monty's right. Maybe there's just something wrong with this disciple who challenges Jesus and then dares to do what only God is able to do, according to the Scriptures, walk on water. In point of fact, Peter's got no business getting out of the boat. Now, that's not to say that the rest of Christ's motley crew are some kind of heroes. Quite likely they were scared out of their wits. But rather than challenging Jesus' identity or taking on more than they were asked to do, they stayed in the boat where Jesus had put them, and they waited for their Savior to come, to climb in, to calm the sea, to do the stuff that a God and Savior can be counted on to do. That, it seems to me, is the good news here. Christ does not abandon his church to the tempests and turmoils that will necessarily confront our mission. Rather, he comes to us in our need and in our fear and delivers us from those things that threaten to destroy us. Our job is to stay in the boat, to stay on task, I think, to go where Jesus sends us and to do what we are called first to do. That is, worship this one who saves us even in the midst of our doubts. Peter, sit down and keep on rowing. The Lord is about to come on board.